والمرسلين أما بعد فاعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. If you can please recite after me الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله
الصلاة والسلام عليك يا
وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله. My dear Islamic brothers and viewers of Madani channel, alhamdulillah azza wa jal, again I welcome you back to our program, The Path to Paradise. As usual, alhamdulillah, today we have a new topic, and in fact it just come to my mind that one individual, he requested we speak about black magic. So inshallah azza wa jal, after 2 days we shall be speaking about black magic. Now, today's topic again is a new topic, and as we know it's a month of the Quran, so we also bring to you a story from the Quran in the form of a do you know question. But the topic of today, my dear Islamic brothers, is patience. Alhamdulillah, we are in the month of Ramadan, and the Prophet ﷺ has called this month Shahrul Sabr, the month of patience. And similarly, the greatest of mankind sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam has said, As-sawmu nisfu sabr, that fasting itself is half of sabr. What's the other half, my dear Islamic brothers? For that, stick with us until after the tilawat.
صلوا على الحبيب صلى الله تعال على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلاة وسلام عليك يا رسول الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين. ولا تقولوا لمن يقتل في سبيل الله أموات بل أحياء ولكن لا تشعرون. آمنت بالله صدق الله العظيم.
My dear Islamic brothers and viewers of Madani channel, for those of you that just may have joined us, the program is Path to Paradise and the topic is Sabr, patience. There's a hadith mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, the beloved of mankind, the peace of our hearts and mind, the most generous and kind sallallahu ta'ala wasallam has said, وَمَا أُعْطِيَ أَحَدٌ عَطَاءً هُوَ خَيْرٌ وَأَوْسَعُ مِنَ الصَّبْرِ, that no individual was granted such a gift which was better than patience, my dear Islamic brothers. Patience is something which we all need to try to practice. We all need to try to implement within our lives. We should try to exercise patience, my dear Islamic brothers. And this is something which is required throughout our whole lives and throughout many different practices we carry out throughout our days. Throughout our lives we suffer from many difficulties, we suffer from many hardships, many illnesses, we suffer in terms of our family members passing away, our friends who passing away, our cousins leaving this world for the eternal abode. So there are many times which require us to exercise patience. And inshallah azza wa jal, this is what we shall be speaking about today. As you know, we also state a story from the Holy Quran in the form of a do you know question. So the question for today is, do you know which cow is the most expensive? Do you know which cow is the most expensive? Stick with us towards the end of the Silsilay to find the answer of this question. But for now, let's begin with Tawfiq Bhai. Our topic is patience, and we've heard of patience, no doubt. We all stress to each other how you should be patient. What is patience?
The word sabr, which we normally say patience, according to one narration, it has been quoted in the glorious Quran 90 times.
Allah, Allah, Allah.
There are many narrations of Hadith Mubarakah as well, which this particular word is used. But I would like to start off with one particular definition. Even if you look at scholars, they define it in many forms, many ways. But one of the beautiful or easy way to remember the definition of patience is to physically and mentally refrain from such thing which Islamic law, the Shariat, has ordered to refrain from. So mentally or physically staying away from something which Shariat has ordered us to stay away from.
So
this is sabr.
Staying away from sins is sabr.
This is sabr. And physical, for example, the example of physical patience would be when someone is doing some hardship, is going through some difficulties, or physical work that he's doing, and he's doing sabr on that. And the mental side would be...
You didn't give us an example. So physically he's doing something, and how is he exercising patience in this particular situation?
To continue that work.
To continue
the hard work. And for example, the fasting itself,
right,
in today's time, that is during the month of, during the days of summer, it's very difficult.
It's difficult to fast.
And to stay hungry and stay thirsty throughout the day, and doing the physical work, those people who do go out for work as well, and during the day it's very difficult, but he continues to do the hard work.
With perseverance, he should continue striving.
Yeah, and this is sabr.
Subhanallah.
And the mentally, the example of mental patience would be to have patience at the time of calamity, any difficulty, any hardship that he's facing, and he's staying quiet.
Allah.
And he's not complaining. He's not going around. And
Tawfiq bhai, jazakallahu khairah. That was brilliant. Barakallah. Amar bhai, I'm going to move on to you. Anything about patience. You could begin wherever you want.
MashaAllah, as you mentioned, the narration that we've not been given anything better and more wasi', more broad than sabr. Likewise, in the glorious Quran, we are promised that those who are patient,
Allah,
they will be given their ajr, their reward, بغير hisab, unlimited. So, alhamdulillah, the fadail of patience and sabr are many, but Tawfiq bhai, mashallah, he hinted towards something which gives us a division of sabr. So we have sabr, and actually there can be many divisions, but primarily we can divide sabr into a few things. Sabr upon ta'at, meaning you do sabr in obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning you persevere and continue to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're carrying out any good deed, you continue to do so. And then there's sabr from sins, meaning you might be tempted to carry out a bad deed, a sin, but at that time you control yourself and you do sabr and you refrain from committing that sin. And then the third type will be sabr upon calamities and difficulties. So these are the primarily three categories that we can divide sabr into.
Jazakallahu khairah. To be honest, I missed most of that because I received a message, my dear Islamic brothers. For those of you that may not be aware, there is a number displayed upon the screen. So please either send your text messages, send a recorded messages via WhatsApp, call in and share with us some sort of experience of when you have exercised sabr or anything else, or even if there's a question you would like to ask. Now we have a question. I've not understood the question, but I'm hoping you have. If not, then we'll ask the sender to reword the question. The question is sabr considered as God's will or as Allah's will? I've not understood that, but subhanAllah, if you have understood what the viewer is trying to ask. No? So that's fine, we'll continue.
Or maybe there might
I
be,
think he's saying
autocorrect sometime.
Possibly.
maybe the center is trying to say that sabr is to say that in Urdu or Punjabi we say Allah ni marzi. So something's happened, a difficult calamity or problem has occurred, and he says that look, it's from Allah.
Subhanallah, I've got another. Jazakallah khair. So sabr is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Saying, I've got another beautiful message. Somebody messaged that a family member of theirs was very ill, extremely ill in fact, and he sought help from a scholar. That scholar said, have patience. He remained patient, he did dua, and now he has realized that his family member has become cured. Subhanallah, my dear Islamic brothers. This is one experience. Again, there may be many others who upon patience, yes, seeking patience and also praying for patience and praying for help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No doubt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who bestows happiness upon us, sadness upon us, whatever He wishes, whatever He wills, and He is the Lord of everything, of all the worlds. He can give you ease, He can give you hardship, which will be a trial for you. But ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do dua, inshallah all your problems shall be resolved. Rizwan Bhai wants to say something.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear Islamic brothers and viewers of Madani channel, today's topic that is sabr, and Imam Ghazali ar-Rahma, he has mentioned that there are two parts of Iman. One part of the Iman is sabr and the other is shukr. So that means that it is such an important topic which is the half of the part of the Iman. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has kept the reward for those who do sabr, and it says in Quran, Surah An-Nahl, وَلَنَجْزِيَنَّ الَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا. Another place Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala talks about that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala loves those who do sabr. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الصَّابِرِينَ. So these are the qualities mentioned in Quran about those people, they do sabr, and those they have the patience. Rasulullah sallallahu
What does these mean? You mentioned the
Yeah,
Arabic.
I've mentioned initially that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has said that those they do sabr, that I will love them. Okay,
Subhanallah.
they are the beloved of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Wallahu yuhibbul sabirin. And another hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, it has been mentioned that it was asked from Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam about Iman. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, as-sabru was-samahatu, meaning sabr and generosity. So this was mentioned about the Iman. So sabr is a crucial part of our Iman. Another hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam with regards to sabr, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has been reported to have said, as-sabru kanzum min kunuzil jannah.
Allah.
Sabr is from the treasures of the paradise,
Allah.
from the heaven. So if we want to attain the treasure of paradise, so we need to attain sabr, we need to develop the habit of patience. Alhamdulillah, initially Ammar Bhai has mentioned the kinds and the aqsam which ulama they have given in the books, that the very first form to do sabr is upon ta'at. We have to obey Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. In order to obey Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, we need to do sabr, like we have to fast. In fasting, we'll have to do sabr. Sometimes we don't want to offer prayer, we don't like to offer prayer, but we have to do sabr to do ta'at of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Sometimes we don't want to pay zakat, because of our nafs and shaitan, we don't want to do charity, but because it is a ta'at of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, we have to be patient and we have to do these good deeds. And upon the obedience of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, this is the first form ulama they have categorized. The second form ulama they have categorized is that you have to do sabr upon the sayyat, that you have to refrain from the bad deeds, and you have to do sabr on them as well.
Jazakallahu khaira. We have some calls. If you could please take a call.
My name is Saqib Hussain Attari. I am from Oldham, and my question is, what's the reward of sabr? Jazakallah khair.
What's the reward? Next, please.
My name is Umar Hussain. I'm from Manchester. My question is, why do we have to do sabr?
Allah, Allah, Allah. Two brilliant questions. Firstly, Ammar Bhai, will start with you. What is the reward of sabr?
MashaAllah, a few things have already been mentioned. I'm just going to quote here a blessing saying of Sayyidina Sufyan bin Uyayna, that he says, "Lam yu'tal ibad afdal min as-sabr." That the people have not been granted anything more greater than sabr. Why? Because bihi dakhalul jannah. Because due to sabr, they will enter paradise.
So paradise itself is the reward of Jannah. Jazakallahu khaira. The second, Tawfiq, why?
Subhanallah. Why do we have to do sabr?
I think Maba wants to continue.
Why was the question? And it's good that you asked this question to me, actually, because I wanted to pick up on a point that you
In
left.
fact, I actually went to the second question. Why do we need to exercise sabr? But that's fine, you
The
continue.
why was the one that you posed to me, wasn't it?
That's fine, you continue.
Wallahu a'lam. Okay, I thought it was why you posed to me. But either way, what you said earlier on, mashallah, and the message that we received with regards to the person being cured, mashallah, due to patience. Now, sabr comes due to a few things. Either because we are being tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another important thing for us to keep in mind is sometimes we have committed a sin due to which a calamity befalls us, and that calamity is going to go away when we do tawbah. So at that point, but sabr, the reward for sabr, and why does this calamity befall us? One is because we've committed a sin. Another is a beautiful hadith of the Prophet ﷺ mentions, "Ma yusibul mu'min min shawkatin fama fawqaha illa rafa'ahu Allahu biha darajah, aw hatta anhu biha khati'ah." That a believer does not receive any trouble of even a thorn pricking him. But so even any trouble, even if it is as small as a thorn pricking him, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, due to that, elevates him a rank or forgives a mistake of his.
Subhanallah. Another way to understand the importance of sabr is to understand the wisdom behind difficulties. Why do we have pain? Why do we have, calamities in life? What's the wisdom behind it?
Okay.
And yes, there is a wisdom behind it. And it is mentioned in a hadith Pak. The Holy Prophet ﷺ stated, if a high status is predestined for a person in the knowledge of Allah, but the person is unable to acquire that status by his deeds, so Allah Almighty makes that person suffer financial, physical, or family difficulty.
Allah.
He, Almighty Allah, then blesses that person with patience and makes him reach that high status which was predestined for him in the divine knowledge.
Predestined for him, mashallah. Jazakallahu khaira. We have more questions. Another is, Salaam wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. As a parent sometimes, well, if I'm honest, a lot of the time, I lose my patience with the children or have very little for them. What advice would you give? Now, I'm not going to advise, I'm not a parent, so I'm going to ask a parent from amongst us.
I think Rizwan Bhai would be more suitable in that sense. As a father.
Can you, repeat the question?
Okay, I'll repeat the question. As a parent, I lose my patience with the children or I have very little patience for them. What would you advise me?
Definitely, alhamdulillah, is part of the upbringing. We have to show patience to our children to do their proper upbringing. If we do our patience to them, because the children, they copy what we do. Every child, if he is a son, he copies the father, and same is the case with the girls, they copy their mother. You would see the child, he will do the hairstyle like his father, he would like to dress up like a father, and same is the case with the girls. They copy their
Is this when
mother.
they're very young? Because I wouldn't say that when,
As
I
a
wouldn't say
toddler.
that I would copy my father's haircut or I would dress the way he would dress. Is this you're referring to when they're very young children?
The
What do
children,
you mean by they copy their parents?
yeah, that's very clear in meaning that the children, they will try to copy their parents. If they see, for example, when I pray, my son comes to me and he stand next to me, even he's a very maybe 3-4 years old, and he tries to copy me the way I'm going into sajda. You will see the children, they try to come in onto the musalla and they would like to just do the gestures the way their parents are doing. So this is the very initial training the parents they have to do. So whatever we are doing, the children are going to copy. And if we are impatient, and if we are shouting, if we are screaming at home, that's what they're going to learn. And this is going to affect their mental health at the same time, as the psychiatrists also say. So we have to be patient, especially if we want their proper upbringing.
I like his second point, mashallah. That was a brilliant point. That your more of your character rather than the physical features. For example, I don't know about the haircut and things like that, or the clothes even, because there's a difference between the clothing of the young and the elderly. But yes, in terms of character, brilliant example, Jazakallah Rizwan Bhai, that when a parent shouts, when a parent swears, when a parent uses vulgar language, then automatically the child will try to emulate the parent.
I think the question was that I lose my patience.
Yes, I wanted to get
when my child or children, are in front of us. What do we do? First of all, if I'm losing patience and I'm screaming at them, that's what we do with kids, don't we? We scream at them, we slap them, we beat them sometimes, which we shouldn't be doing. Why do we do it? Remember this, if we have to scream to make them do something, that means we don't know how to do the tarbiyah. This is our own weakness. So first step is to build this mentality that I will never shout at my own children and whoever is under me, or even if it's elder. If I have to shout to convey my message, that means I don't know how to teach someone. That's my lack of quality. So that's the first step, to have a clear mindset that I will never scream at anyone.
Okay.
That's the first step. Second thing, children, being children, they will mess around, they will give you some tough time. You should just enjoy it. Just enjoy it, be with them. Don't make them feel like you're angry. Yeah, someone's making you angry.
How long can you enjoy it for?
It's fun. If you have that mindset, when they, I'll give you an example of my own nephews.
Okay, so what are you trying to say? Jazakallah khair. I like this point. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. What are you trying to say? We need to change our mindset. There's two ways of looking at it. One way is looking at the children are messing about, they're making me angry. Another way to look at it is the children, and how long are they going to be children for? Yeah. There could be the time where, before you know it, they're grown up and you can no longer play with them no more.
Understand, that's that childhood, and let them enjoy what they're doing.
Let them make the most of the childhood.
And here what I was suggesting, it's for all of us again, that if they are making you angry for whatever reason, they're being stubborn to do something or whatever, then first step was to not let them know that you're angry. Sometimes they will tease you. Yeah, just go with the flow and don't make them realize, and find other ways, find other alternatives to make them do whatever you want to do. For example, you're trying to tell your child to go downstairs and bring me a glass of water, and he's not listening to you, and you think, he's my son and he's not listening to me. He's 3-year-old, 6-year-old. Okay. Who do you think you are? Yeah. Rather than screaming at him, if you can give him a sweet, or if you give him something else, if you get me a glass of water, I'm gonna take you out. Yeah. Give him a tease. Yeah. And in that case, inshallah, he will listen to you as well.
That means every time he needs smoke from his son, you're gonna have to take him out or give him something.
Well, sometimes you have to do it. Yeah. Everyone's different. Yeah. But there are in our modern society, children will listen to you if you are nice and sweet to them.
Yeah, subhanallah, no doubt about that. About by
I think firstly we have to, when we speak of good character, you have to keep in mind good character is not, being nice and smiling all the time. There does come a time where it is appropriate to show a bit of seriousness, not necessarily scream, but just a mood change.
Yes.
And it reflects heavily upon the child. And another thing, though I'm not a parent, but when, for example, somebody of my age deals with a youngster who's a younger kid, and I get agitated, or he's doing this, I have to realize, okay, what I have learned right now, my age right now, and likewise a parent, maybe he's learned that much at 30. It took me 30 years to learn this much, and now I'm expecting my child, I'm measuring him with my yardstick, and I'm expecting him to know the same at the age of 6.
Jazakallah khair, my brother. Brilliantly answered. Now there's another question for you then. In today's society, we are very quick to lose our patience towards our parents, whereas we have so much patience for our friends, and whereas we have more patience for our friends and acquaintances. Even worse is that we show this impatience towards our parents in front of others and even guests. What advice would you give to someone who does this?
Islamic knowledge. Because what happens when we're outside, why do we show patience to others? Firstly, if we can show patience in front of someone, that shows that we have the ability to be patient.
Brilliant.
But we're just choosing where to implement that, where to be patient and where not to be patient.
Subhanallah, so we're just choosing where we decide to exercise patience, where we do not.
Exactly. But the people that deserve our love and affection the most are our close, direct blood relatives. But unfortunately, people that see our smile, people that see our nice character outside the house, as soon as we step into the house, you know, that same mother, that same father, our brothers, sisters, they're still looking for that and searching for that smile that they don't get or they very rarely get. So the point is, if we were to educate ourselves and see who's actually more deserving of our affection and love, Islamically we will realize that it is our parents and our direct blood relatives. And it's because to impress people outside, we're nice, but the reward, the concept of the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will only be instilled into our own minds when we educate ourselves.
Parents with a smile, with happiness, you gain the reward of
Hajj
Mabrur.
So this comes through knowledge.
Accepted Hajj. Subhanallah. Moving on, we do have more messages. We'll come back to those inshallah.
I've got a narration that I want to share with our viewers today. Sometimes, we think, we have a lot of sabr. We have patience, and you have many examples of yourself at what moment that we've we've had sabr. But who has the most patience? Who has the most patience? Let's hear from a narration which is mentioned in Sahih Muslim Sharif. Sayyidina Abu Musa Ash'ari radiyallahu ta'ala anhu has narrated that our beloved Makki Madani Mustafa sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam said, there is no one showing more patience than Allah Almighty. Upon listening to something painful, people attributing offspring to him, and He Almighty still pardons and gives them sustenance. Allah Almighty has the most patience.
Subhanallah, I've got another question for you now. How should we do sabr with our spouse to make a marriage work?
Again, it's the mentality that we need to maintain this happy life. And to do that, you have to avoid any arguments. So avoiding arguments, especially with your spouse, okay, things will happen during the life period. You won't always have happy moments between each of you. Sometimes he might say something, it won't click for you. Sometimes you might say something, it won't be according to her taste. But either way, we have to avoid arguments. And if you can have that in your mindset, that I don't want argument, although you disagree with that individual, just stay quiet. Stay quiet, move away from that place. Go out for a walk, half an hour, 40 minutes, come back. And inshallah, you'll have a change of mood. But if you can avoid arguments with your spouse, inshallah, that will play a big role for you to continue with a happy life, inshallah.
Okay, that's brilliant, mashallah. You try to avoid arguments, you remain patient, remain quiet. But does this solve the problem?
Well, it depends on the issue. What problem?
Well, that we don't know.
We don't know. So we can't really solve something that we don't know. However, but generally, a lot of issues between spouse or between the husband and wife do happen because of arguments. That's how it starts off. Or suspicions.
Yes, you've just got
or lack of trust.
One thing is lack of trust, another thing is misunderstanding. These are two very integral parts or reasons as to why marriages do not work. Lack of trust on the one hand, and also misunderstanding, where many a time an individual is not able to express himself. My dear Islamic brothers and viewers of Madani channel, there's not much advice I can give on this. But from what I've read, the scholars, in fact, they also mention this, that misunderstanding is one of the main causes of why marriages break. How? In that people are not able to express themselves properly to their own wives or to their own husbands. This is one big problem. Firstly, you should be able to be open with each other. If there is any problem, that's the whole point of marriage where you're able to support each other, emotionally especially. And you should also be able to speak freely and openly to your husband or to your wife.
So what you're saying, lack of understanding, lack of
And
trust,
communication.
So the root cause of that is lack of communication.
Yes, lack of communication.
So
and
that's
that
what we need
just
to work on.
leads to bigger things.
Lack of communication between husband and wife.
If there is a misconception, meaning what have
Really,
you got to do?
Tawfiq bhai, I know.
Normally, they're the ones who have the most strong bond in the family.
No, Tawfiq bhai, what it is people, when they're not able to openly say something, then that itself, no matter how close they may be, they may be seeing each other every single day, it doesn't matter.
Sometimes you want to say something and you don't say it because you don't know how he or she will take it as.
The question I think which was asked about that how can we have the patience if we've got argument, any sort of situation at home. So we should address that question in a sense that if there is any kind of argument, the psychiatrists, the doctors, or those they've got the research on anger, they have advised that the anger itself that remains about 10 to 12 minutes. If you try to keep control of the first 10 or 12 minutes, and when you get a proper hold and control on yourself, that you can control and you can do patience right at the time when you are angry or anger is coming or any situation you are in, maybe that is at home, at business, at workplace, wherever it is, if you just try to avoid it the first 10 minutes, then you will calm down because that anger comes down, and never ever take any decision when you are angry, and try to do patience. And if that is done, inshallah, there will be many problems solved. Further, how to attain the patience, we have Amir Ahl Sunnah Damat Barakatumul Aliyah tells, try to look at the end results of that problem. What will happen if you do that, and what are the fada'il with regards to that issue? Especially we are talking about sabr. If we do not do sabr, what will happen? The marriages can break, talaq can happen, divorce
Talaq
can
is
happen,
that thing
and
which
so
is
many things can happen because of this issue if we don't do sabr. If we do sabr, the things can be sorted and lives can be saved.
Inshallah. Talaq now, my dear Islamic brothers and viewers of Madani channel, is that thing, meaning divorce. Divorce is that thing which is permitted in Islam, yes, but it is the most disliked thing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislikes more than anything else for a relation to break up. And especially when that's a relation between a husband and a wife. Tawfiq bhai,
Just on the same topic, you asked what's the solution to the problems then? And you have to, with husband and wife, be open with each other. Have a time where you sit aside and talk to each other and discuss that issue in a nice, soft tone, and try to convince each other whoever's wrong.
to be honest, Tawfiq bhai, what it seems like to me is this is one-sided. You understand? That is from one way, one person is having problems and possibly even feeling depressed. Now, for that individual, I would recommend that they speak to somebody who knows both you yourself and the spouse, or is closely related, because this is the Islamic method, that you bring somebody who is just, and from both sides, from the wife's side and from the husband's side, somebody should come and they should try to address the matter. And this is where I'll leave this topic. I hope that question has been answered. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for those people that are struggling in their marriages, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make love and build love in their marriages. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for them, remove any misconceptions between the two, and grant them trust and true love for each other.
Shabazz bhai, we talked about patience, but the question is, when do we do patience?
This is just what I was going to ask you, jeez.
And when do we do patience, and how do we do patience?
In fact, can I just take some calls, Tawfiq bhai, because of Subhanallah, can we please have the calls, please?
My question about patience is true patience when something small happens and not when something big happens? Usually when something big happens, like for example a death in a family, the person, they find Allah Azza wa Jal, they find patience at the time, they realize that look, life is short, and they usually have patience in that time sometimes. But I feel, is there more emphasis on patience when small things happen. For example, when someone, like, I don't know, they kick the door and they hurt their little toe or something like that, or they've lost their keys, and just little things that happen that might annoy them, and that causes to lose their, make them lose their patience. Would you say that this is the bigger test that we have in terms of patience, or would it be like, for example, the big things that happen, like someone does pass away, or someone does get robbed, or someone does get hurt immensely? Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For now, we'll just have that one question, and it's too long to write. The feedback, can you please address that?
The difficult, the problem, the calamity, the more reward of patience, or the more importance of patience will be. And in both sides, if it's a minor difficulty or a major difficulty, we have to have patience in both. But it is mentioned in a hadith Pak that, or the meaning of a narration is that indeed patience is at the first stroke of the calamity.
Subhanallah.
Sadamatil inda sadamatil ula. Yeah, a sabr indeed is at the first stroke, the first moment something's happened. How do you react?
Allah.
That could be a minor difficulty or a major calamity, but sabr, sabr is at the beginning. After some moments, then you stay, once you've let everything out, the complaints and swearing or whatever you want to do, you've done all that stuff, then you say, oh, I'm doing sabr now, what else can I do? Yeah, so that's the first thing we have to understand. Sabr is at the beginning. When something hits you, you pause. And what we should say, this is something important, the manner of patience. At the time of difficulty, first, we should not complain about anything else. And then we should say, which is mentioned in the glorious Quran, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Say that. Yeah, and just stay quiet.
Subhanallah. Patience, my dear Islamic brothers, is something which, yes, is easy to talk about it, to be honest. We're sitting here talking and telling everybody to be patient. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really grant us all patience.
Amen.
Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives us difficulties, gives us hardships, and it is to test us. That's why, yes, on our behalf, we'll say stay patient. And how will we react when, hardships befall us? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also grant us patience. Did you Zamba before?
Shabazz bhai, we have to look at the fada'il, we have to look at the reward Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has kept for those people who do patience. It has been mentioned that the one who does sabr upon the ibadat of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, upon the worship of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and he remains indulged in the ibadat, in the worship of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala will grant him 300 ranks on the day of judgment, and each rank will have the distance between them which is equal to the sky and the earth. And the one who does sabr upon the things which are made haram by Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, and he refrains from those haram acts, and he does sabr and he makes himself patient, what will happen? Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala will grant him 600 darajat to him, and each daraja, the level between two, the distance between two levels and ranks will be the distance of 7 skies and the 7th earths. This distance will be between 1 and the 600 darajat will be rewarded and granted to him. And the one who does sabr, we were just talking about the calamities, problems, alam, ranj, issues, and the one who has any problems, he is ill, he has got issues, the family issues, business issues, so many other issues, right? And he does sabr upon them. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala will grant him 700 darajat, 700 ranks will be granted, and the distance between the two ranks, the level will be equal to tahtu thara and arshi ula. So this is the reward Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala has kept for them. They do sabr. When we are in a state that we cannot find sabr, what shall we do? We should keep an eye on these fada'il, we keep an eye on the excellence, that what reward Allah has kept with us. And Allah is with those who do sabr, who have the patience. And this is the month, the blessings of Ramadan is the month of blessings of, and this is one of the reasons why we do Saum, we keep Roza, we fast to attain sabr. We do sabr throughout this is the essence of Roza, this is the essence of fasting. Throughout the time frame we do not eat, We don't eat halal, we don't drink halal, which are halal things we are refraining. The message is here, during the fasting you are refraining yourself, you are doing sabr on halal things because Allah has ordered you. Then other than Ramadan you have to refrain yourself from the haram which has already been made haram, and you have to do sabr then as well upon the order of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So Roza, this Psalm teaches us sabr, it teaches us patience, and this is the practice we are doing in this month of a beautiful month of Ramadan, and we have to keep this practice after Ramadan.
It's good that you brought it back to Roza, you brought it back to fasting. Why? Fasting is what teaches us patience. We have more messages. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To state, Allah, what punishment have you descended upon me while quarreling? Is this foolishness or is this kufr, meaning disbelief? This no doubt is foolishness, and depending on your intention it could be worse. Please, we need to refrain from astaghfirullah, na'udhu billah, complaining to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The question is, will sabr come in any shape or form on the day of judgment? Anything coming to your mind? Nothing's coming to my mind about this. Will sabr take any form or shape on the day of judgment? Now,
nothing in terms of form, but there are blessings mentioned for those who are patient. They will be granted entrance into paradise without accountability.
Subhanallah. Now, it is mentioned that good deeds do take forms, but as for what particular form, I do not remember reading anything like this. My dear Islamic brothers, alhamdulillah, the topic is sabr. We have had, in fact, many questions, and we also have more questions.
It's a positive thing. The brothers are taking interest, the viewers are taking interest in the Silsila, and they're messaging. They should keep alhamdulillah messaging us, and they should call us. It helps us to bring good topics for them as well, mashallah.
Inshallah. We want to move on though.
Gigi, please.
Alhamdulillah, it is the month of the Quran. It is the month of Ramadan, the month where we fast, where we try to exercise patience. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all patience. Now, we also have a topic from the Quran. We have more questions, and in fact, we are having quite a few questions. Let's continue with the question. What was the question, Amar Bhai, and what is the answer to that question?
The question was, which cow is or was the most expensive cow in the world? And this is the question to this lies in the glorious Quran, that we have a surah called Suratul Baqarah, and that the chapter of the cow. Al-Baqarah means the cow. So the whole chapter is named after particularly this incident of the Baqarah, the cow. And this summary of the story is that in the time now,
you can take your time, inshallah. We do have 15 minutes.
Okay, inshallah. So there was a very pious person in the Bani Israel. He had a young son. And now when this person, he also had a single calf, a cow. That was his only possession. When he was about to pass away, he left this cow by a bush, and he said, "Oh Allah Azza wa Jal, I leave this calf under your protection until my son reaches puberty, until he reaches maturity and he becomes mature." After this, now this pious person's passed away. The calf, it grew into a full cow, and with the passing of time, his son now grew up to be a righteous, a pious man. And look at the beautiful routine that he had. He had divided his night into three parts. He used one part to sleep, to gain his rest, and he used another part to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, and then he used another part to serve his mother. So this was his routine, three parts: one to worship, one to sleep in, one to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in, and the third part to serve his mother in. And also he would travel to the jungle every single day in the morning to fetch wood, which then he would sell. So this was sort of his source of income and his means of income. And he used to do sadaqah, charity, of 1/3 of his earnings.
Allah.
1/3. So meaning he spent 1/3 on his own needs, give 1/3 in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and give 1/3 to his mother. Just like he would spend 1/3 of the night for his own need, his own rest, 1/3 in worshipping Allah, 1/3 in serving his mother. Likewise with his income as well. So one day his mother said to him that, "Oh my son, your father had left a calf under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Go to so and so place and make dua in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, O Rabb of Sayyidina Ibrahim, Ismail and Ishaq alayhimu salatu wasalam, return me the thing my father gave under your protection." So she further said that the calf was yellow colored and its skin will be bright and glittery, glistening in such a way as though the rays of the sun are emitting from it. So she described, and he went and he prayed in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all of a sudden the cow appeared and it came and stood by him. So now at this point he goes home and his mother says to him that, "Go to the market and sell this cow for 3 dinars. But do not sell it to any buyer without consulting me." In those days, the usual cost of the cow was around about 3 dinars. So she gave him the average price of the cow.
By the way, 3 dinars sounds a little amount, but there's one thing which is dirhams, and one thing which is dinars. There's a difference between you can take, for example, we have cents, or we have dollars, or we have pence, and we have pounds. It's like dirhams and dinars. So dirhams is a very large amount in itself. So dinars is like a gold coin, a dinar, meaning it has a great significance, a very large amount. Ji, Amal bhai.
So now he goes to the market, and his mother's instructed him, "Do not sell it to anyone without consulting me." He goes to the market. There's a buyer who in reality is an angel. So this angel says to him that, "I will pay you more than 3 dinars, but on the condition that you sell me this cow without consulting your mother."
Allah, Allah, Allah.
So now the boy replies that, "No matter how much you offer me, I will not sell the cow without consulting my mother." This was his obedience to his mother, his love for his mother. So reaching home, the boy related this whole event to his mother. And because his mother, she was a pious lady, so she said, "Perhaps the buyer was an angel. So therefore, O son, consult with him whether we should sell the cow or not." So now, when the boy consulted with that buyer in the market, he advised him not to sell the cow.
Okay.
He says, "Don't sell the cow yet. In the future, the people of Sidna Musa ala nabina wa alayhi salatu wasalam will buy this cow."
Allah, Allah.
And he further advised him that at that time when they come to buy this cow from you, demand the price equivalent to the amount of gold that can be filled in the hide, in the skin of the cow. So the skin, the outer skin and the hide of the cow has to be filled with gold. That amount of gold that can be fitted into that, I want that much gold as the price of this cow. So where is 3 dinars and where is this new price? And the angel says to him that they will pay you that price. They will pay you that price. So therefore, after a few days, a very rich person from the Bani Israel named Amil, he was killed by his 2 paternal cousins, and they threw his body at a desolate and a deserted place. The next morning, the search for the murderers began. After getting no trace, people went to Sidna Musa ala nabiyina wa alayhi salatu wasalam and asked about the murder. So now at that time, Sidna Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is commanded that instruct these people to slaughter a cow and hit the deceased with a limb of the cow, and with that, inshallah, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this dead person would speak. So either with the tongue or the bone of the tail of the cow, strike the murdered person with that. So now the Bani Israel, they started to question what sort of a cow, this and that, and they tightened it for themselves. They made it difficult for themselves. Yeah, so they made it more difficult for themselves. Finally, it was said that it's a yellow cow.
So what was the whole process? How did it come to this final yellow cow?
So the Bani Israel, every time, for example, they started to question Sidna Musa alayhi salatu wasalam about the age of the cow, about the color of the cow, etc. So every time they asked, there were more limitations. And at the end, Sidna Musa alayhi salatu wasalam informed them, he was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inform them that it is a cow which is yellow and other attributes that it carried. So now there was only one cow of that type. And that was the cow that this boy had owned. So that was in the possession of this young man, young pious man. So now they went to him and he demanded the price that he was told by the angel to demand. So therefore,
Do you know what that price was?
Ji? So
What was that price?
so the price was the gold, the amount of gold that can be filled into the hide and the skin of that cow. So full.
I think this is approximately 10,000 dinars. I remember reading a long time ago.
From 3 dinars to 10,000.
Allah, Allah, Allah.
So, and he demanded that price, or he was instructed to do so by the angel, and they paid him that price. And then, so when they went and did as they were instructed by Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and the person who was murdered, he spoke, he came back to life, and then he said that his killers were the 2 sons of his uncle who killed him due to the greed of his wealth. Due to greed of his wealth. After telling this, he died again now. So therefore, both of these killers were killed in return, and the child of the pious person who was very obedient to his mother became very rich by getting a lot of wealth. So this whole incident is described in the glorious Quran, but there are many lessons that we can derive from it. So obviously there are the ayat.
First, which surah?
In the Quran. So this is, as I mentioned, Surah Al-Baqarah. So
Surah
after Surah
Al-Baqarah,
Al-Fatiha,
which is
the second surah is Surah Al-Baqarah. So
so
particularly
what do we
from
learn from
verse 67 to 73, if somebody does wish to obtain Kanzul Iman, maybe Tafsir Siratul Janan or other such authentic tafsir written by our Sunni scholars, then they can read the detail of this story.
By the way,
as well.
there may be some who are not aware, mashallah, you mentioned Kanzul Iman. Alhamdulillah, I have good news for the viewers that Kanzul Iman has been translated into English, subhanallah, by a mufti sahib himself from Dawat Islami, and he has put in much efforts, much hardship, really he has gone through. It has been proofread several times, and alhamdulillah they have finally translated this translation of the Quran, meaning this was the Urdu translation of the Quran by Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Rida Khan rahimahullah ta'ala alayhi, and it was, you could say, possibly the greatest translation in the Urdu language. It is a brilliant translation, and now that has also finally been translated in the English language, which will be available soon, very soon. Alhamdulillah, I'm one of the people who's had it first, subhanallah. But it shall be made available online very soon, inshallah, hopefully within this month itself. Subhanallah. Amar, continue.
So this is the story that we've mentioned, and I think it's appropriate that we mention some of the lessons that we can derive from this story. And as I've said, if somebody does wish to read it themselves, or they wish to read it so then they can teach it further on to their children, then from the verses 67 to 73, these are the verses that particularly mention this incident in detail.
Right, so what do we learn from this story?
So mashallah, the first thing that we learn is the fact that this young man's father, he left something under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this means that the possessions left over by pious people in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are not only protected by Allah, but they have a lot of blessings in them.
Subhanallah.
Like this cow, it brought about a lot of blessings in this family's life. So
how do you leave something in the protection of Allah?
Subhanallah, I think we've discussed briefly when we discussed tawakkul. So even, for example, when somebody, and this is why the scholars instruct us that when we leave our house, we request in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I leave my children, my family and my wealth under your protection. And then if he goes on a journey, when he comes back, inshallah, he will find them safe, because he left them in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is also, we learn that the fact that this pious individual, this young man's father, he left something for his child. He left it under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he left it for his child. So we also learn that it is a practice of the pious people to leave some sort of a heritage, something behind for their children. This is a good practice by the chosen people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
This is in fact very important. Many people may think, no, I wish to give all my money as sadaqah, I wish to give it all in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something which has in fact been prohibited even. It's mentioned that one companion, I'm not exactly certain on their name, so I'm not going to mention the name, that they asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about giving all of their wealth in the path of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited them. I'm going to say it quickly because we need to move on. What else do we learn from this?
So now, if somebody is obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he prays in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's obedient to his parents. Like this young man, he was very obedient to his mother. Then Allah provides from him, makes means from him from the unseen.
Okay.
He grants him so much blessings, and he provides him sustenance from where he would not even imagine. He wouldn't have imagined. Like this boy, this young man was provided because of his obedience to his mother. So a very important lesson to take on board.
Allah.
Obedience to parents brings about a lot of blessings in our lives.
Allah.
Another lesson that we can derive is when a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes, to start to argue with that, to try to use our own intellect to tackle that command, ma'adallah, and to question further into that command only brings about further difficulties. Like it is apparent through the Bani Israel, the people of Sayyidina Musa ala nabiyina wa alayhi salatu wasalam, that when they started to question further and further, they went deeper and deeper, they only made it more difficult for themselves. That there was only one such cow at the end which existed, and it cost them a lot. Likewise, the one who leaves his wealth under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is protected. The one who leaves his family under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is protected. And also a beautiful point, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, he says that the one who puts on yellow shoes, yellow colored shoes, he will always remain happy and will suffer sorrows rarely. He will rarely have difficulties and sorrow. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the yellow cow, تَسُرُّ النَّاظِرِينَ, the yellow cow, it is pleasing to the beholders, pleasing to the people that look at it.
SubhanAllah. My dear Islamic brothers and viewers on Madani channel, the topic today was firstly sabr, another the story of Baqarah, meaning we've all heard of Surah Baqarah, the second and the largest surah of the Holy Quran. What was the story? Alhamdulillah, we have listened from Ammar Bhai today. My dear Islamic brothers and viewers of Madani channel, time has unfortunately got the better of us, but I would like to have one last comment from each Mubalig before we do finish, please. Tawfiq Bhai, beginning with you.
Remember, whatever you do, be patient, because good things happen to those who are patient.
Subhanallah, good thing happens to those who are patient.
We need to realize that we need patience in every beneficial act we do, whether be it that earning a good income, be it dealing with people, be it dealing with our children, be it dealing with our family, be it even seeking knowledge. Any beneficial act that we do, we are in need of patience throughout our own life, and we have to realize that. And then, inshallah, when we are consciously aware of this, we will realize, okay, at this point, now I'm starting to become impatient, but this is where I need to be patient.
Subhanallah.
There is the word sabr jameel, which has been mentioned many a times. We hear about it. What is sabr jameel? It's not a sabr of any person who is called Jameel, but it's got a different definition for it. So what is that? Inflicted person who cannot be recognized among the people, that he's got problems. So that if somebody is patient and he is amongst the people cannot recognize he is an inflicted person who has got problems, issues. So that person, if he is doing such sabr, that's called sabr jameel. And I hope that inshallah we can try to attain this beautiful quality too, inshallah.
My dear Islamic brothers and viewers of Madani channel, for now that's all. But what I would like to say is, yes, there will be many of us who are going through many difficulties, many hardships, and you may be even thinking that you lot do not understand my situation. Yes, there will be people out there who may be thinking this, that you have not lived my life, you don't know what hardship I am going through. But there's one thing I would like to leave you with, is that whatever the difficulty is, whatever the hardship is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran that He does not bring up a hardship upon a person. What's the ayat is not coming to my head. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not bring hardship upon a person except that which he is able to bear, my dear Islamic brothers. So whatever it is, however difficult it is, no doubt it is something which it is possible for you to bear. You only require patience and steadfastness and to continue doing dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Dua silahul mu'min. The dua is a weapon of the believer. Ad-du'a'u mukhla ibadah. It is the brain of ibadah, of worship itself, my dear Islamic brothers. Please never forget to do dua. Always do dua. It is something you do not require wuzu with also. My dear Islamic brothers, it is something which is easy and we should all try to do regularly. But for now, that's all. Inshallah Azza wa Jal, we shall bring to you again another silsila during the daytime, blessings of Ramadan. But until then, my dear Islamic brothers, continue to descend durood upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. صلوا على الحبيب صلى الله تعالى على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.